Hello and welcome back to live coverage of Apex Con. I'm Tandy, joined by Ross Merriam in the booth. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
We have 3 rounds down, 3 more Swiss to bring you before we get to the top 8. We have some undefeated players in the feature match area about to battle it out. Just for you at home who are just joining us, just want you to know this is a team event. We are playing Standard and Pioneer and Modern. One player on each team is playing these formats, and whoever team wins 2 out of the 3 matches wins the match, and that's kind of the format we're playing today.
Yeah, so gonna be dabbling in a little bit of everything. So we got something for everybody out there, regardless of which format is your format of choice. That said, this round we are going to be starting with and focusing on the modern match between these two teams. And that is going to feature Tyler Klein on Esper Goryo's Vengeance against David Tobias on Amulet Titan. One of the newer decks to emerge in Modern and one of the oldest decks that's still around in Modern. But both decks very explosive, very powerful.
I'm old enough to remember when Scapeshift, or was it Valakut, was banned in Modern for like quite a long time. And the the Scapeshift stuff hasn't really been that big of a deal in Modern for a while. But Primeval Titan, and specifically Dryad of the Elysian Grove, has added new life to the card Valakut and made all the Titan decks into this like sub-Valakut Titan game.
Yeah, you can combo with Dryad, you can combo with Titan, or you can put the two together and you got yourself a super combo.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pretty typical list here from David Tobias. Nothing out of the ordinary, at least in the main deck. Does have the 1 copy of Cultivator Colossus. Some lists issue that. So we might see that get tutored with a Summoner's Pack.
Are we 61? I know one person online, Jack something or another, has been playing 61.
We are indeed 61ing.
Yeah, that's stock. 61 is stock, just so you know. But the Goryo's Vengeance deck is really sweet. This is like a Esper control style deck with a lot of card draw, and then it uses Goryo's Vengeance to bring back Atraxa, the biggest baddie on the block.
Or Gristlebrand.
Sometimes
The former biggest baddie on the block, now number 2.
Yeah, it uses that to find Ephemerate, and then uses Ephemerate to get around the Goryo's Vengeance Exile Clause.
Yeah, very powerful combo there. The one thing I will say about the Goryo's deck, while it can function as a combo deck of sorts itself, executing its thing, putting that big creature onto the battlefield, drawing a bunch of cards, it then has a ton of disruption. The 4 Griefs that play so well with Ephemerate, 3 Solitudes that can answer any of the big threats out of Titan, 3 Prismatic Endings, which are great at answering Amulet of Vigor, and a couple of main deck Thought Seizes. So I like Tyler Klein's side in this matchup, because he has both the capability of winning a game quickly and the capability of saying, you know what, I'm just going to stop you from winning. I'll get to my game plan later on.
All right, well, the players are ready and situated in the feature match area. So let's head on down and see who takes it down between Tyler Klein and David Tobias. Goryo's Vengeance versus Primeval Titan. All right. David Tobias will be on the play here with Goryo's going to lead off with one of those powerful Surveil lands. Oh, I'm wrong. Amulet Titan. That's David Tobias. Does play the Surveil land and puts
a Lush Portico.
Primeval Titan into the graveyard. Interesting. Must already have a Primeval Titan in hand.
Yeah.
Surveil lands really changed the game in this format. Both players leading off with 1 to start, huh?
They are very powerful. You see, 1, 2, 3 copies or so in almost every list. Ooh, there's a Force Negation. I even missed that combing over the list. 2 copies of those in the main deck as well.
It's so good, Ross. It's so good when you're Atraxing and you're like, oh, I found a Force Negation. Here you go. How do you beat this?
Well, looks like Tobias going to have to play this game slow. Has a Growth Chamber to rebuy that Lush Portico, so going to get a little more Surveil action later on in this game and gets his mana engine further along.
All right, here's Marsh Flats from Tyler Klein. Let's see if there's anything scary happening. Or just a passing of the turn. Could go for a Faithful Mending on the instep, putting one of those big baddies into the grave, threatening Goryo's maybe next turn.
Yeah, and while you can sometimes turn 2 Goryos if you surveil a creature off the top, you'd much rather actually turn 3 it, because then you have that mana up for the Ephemerate.
Right. Sometimes you can turn 2, instep it, and then you can use that to give you a whole window on your turn 3 to blink it.
Okay. Explore from David Tobias. So Lush Portico replay is going to be the first land drop for the turn. There should be 1 more coming. Mox Diamond getting put into the graveyard.
Blocks Diamond. All right. Tobias here. Going to play 1 more land, just trying to figure out which land it is. And then we're going to go back Tyler Klein's way, and we'll see if we have any fireworks. Vesuva, copying Simic Growth Chamber. Okay.
2 Surveils was not enough. I need a 3rd.
March Flash fetches. Let's see if it goes and gets a Surveil land or a blue source to go ahead and cast something like Faithful Mending.
Looks like there's a Tainted Indulgence in hand, so I think we might be getting a blue source to cast that one.
If we had Tainted Indulgence, that one's an instant, right?
Yeah.
I for some reason I was thinking it was a sorcery, but yeah. You can play that one on the end step. Draw 2, discard 1.
All instants here.
It's one of the coolest parts about playing this Esper Goryo's deck, and one of the hardest parts about playing against it is your opponent almost always has the threat of just annihilating you if you tap out.
Well, and that's true for Amulet Titan. So David Tobias knows all about annihilating opponents when they tap out.
All right, here's Tainted Indulgence. Draw 2, discard. Let's see if we have one of the big creatures to put into the grave.
Just a land and a Thoughtseize there with the 2 draws, but
Oh.
we do have the Atraxa.
Okay, let's see if we have the combo. Goryo's Vengeance. Let's get that card on the screen. For just 2 mana, we can return a legendary creature from our graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, there it is.
Woo! Woo! And now, top 10. We get to put one of each card type into hand. That means Force Negation. That means Grief. That means Solitude. That means Thoughtseize. One of each of these types of effects.
Doesn't look like a great... Oh, there's the Ephemerate on the
Oh,
last
and we're going
one,
to do
I
it
believe.
again. And we're going to do it again, Ross.
I
And
don't
we
think
get to Grief you.
It looks like just land creature instant for types, so only going to get 3 cards out of it. But if that is indeed the Ephemerate as the last card, hard to tell exactly. 3 cards might be enough.
All right. Creature, Solitude, not Grief. Interesting.
You know, if
I
you-
guess that's fair because of Titan.
Yeah, want to have an Answer to Titan rolled up, and then...
That must not be an Ephemerate. It must be a Prismatic
it's
Ending.
Prismatic Ending. So we're going to get 4 cards.
Okay.
Faithful Mending, Prismatic Ending, and then we should be able to take that Marsh Flats.
But
or
importantly,
maybe
no
Delphi.
Ephemerate.
Yeah.
At least not in that pile.
So just going to be a big attack for 7 here, but then the Atraxa goes away. And Klein will have to try to set up something else. Should be able to follow up this Atraxa attack with a Thoughtseize, which is quite nice.
I guess there's some chance that there's an Ephemerate in hand, but I think that's another Prismatic Ending.
Yeah, I think we've drawn 2 out of the 3 copies.
Okay. So these cards go back in. Tyler Klein looking pretty nice here, though, even though he doesn't get to keep the Atraxa around.
Yeah, still a very strong turn for Klein. Tobias stuck on 4 mana, so you're not under much threat of a Titan unless something like, Amulet starts the turn. And even then, probably need multiple. It's like Amulet plus Arboreal Grazer with another bounce land could do it.
And we know there's one Primeval Titan surveilled into the graveyard early on, so maybe Thoughtseize taking another one leaves Tobias without one of the big payoffs in hand.
Yeah, you got to expect there's at least a Summoner's Pact or a Titan in hand based on that turn 1 surveil.
All right, we're going to take
Ooh.
4 and cast Thoughtseize. We have a pretty juicy hand. We see Primeval Titan, the Colossus, the One Ring, Explorer, and that Lush Portico that was returned to hand. So
Yes, I expect the One Ring to be the take here because that's the threat that's castable next turn.
Okay. Tyler agrees. We're going to write down the hand just so we have that information for later use. But Trax is going to get exiled, and then we're going to go back to Tobias's way. We'll see if he has some way to maybe try to cheat this Primeval Titan into play when the shields are down, but I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, going to be very, very difficult for that to happen. Another ring would be probably the best draw.
Okay. Go back to David Tobias. We drew Urza's Saga.
Okay. So we can explore, play Portico and Saga, get another Surveil, see 2 more cards. Explore finds that's a Selesnya Sanctuary.
Mm-hmm. So we get to go Saga or Portico and then bounce it back. Get enough mana for the Colossus next turn or the Titan.
Yeah, don't need Arboreal Grazer. Portico puts that in the graveyard, and now we're set up to cast some threats next turn. Bounce Land would set us up better for the Cultivator Colossus, which might be the better first play anyway, because then we can maybe find Amulet before playing the Titan.
Right, plus we know there's a Solitude lingering, so it's just 2 lands. It gets exiled, whereas Cultivator Colossus might draw,
Yeah.
10 cards.
And indeed, Tobias goes for the Sanctuary. So next turn with the Urza Saga, he can get to 7 mana with 3 green for the Cultivator Colossus.
Okay. Some chance Klein has some way to blow up Saga before it gets the counter on it, but I'm not sure that that's something that he's looking at. Just figure out what we're doing this turn. Faithful Mending. I see a Gristlebrand in hand.
And can we find a second Gorya's Vengeance, though?
Okay. Gristlebrand going to the graveyard. It's nightmare fuel, Ross.
It's just sitting there, just waiting for you.
I had a turn 2 kill on camera once with Goryo's Vengeance Gristlebrand. That felt good.
Yeah. Looks like there was an Ephemerate off the top from the mending for Klein. A little bit too late, but once he finds another Goryo's Vengeance, that'll go nicely to save the Gristlebrand.
And a Thoughtseize. So no Goryo's coming this turn. Maybe trying to set it up for next turn. Maybe doesn't have it yet. This Thoughtseize can take either the Cultivator Colossus or the Primeval Titan, but not both.
Gotta think the Colossus is the more threatening one since it's drawing at least 2 cards, probably more than that.
Yeah, but getting 2 lands out of the deck. I mean, Primeval Titan is just a scary Magic card.
Yeah, but it's all about just containing the threats. And Cultivator Colossus digs Tobias towards another threat. You have the Solitude to answer the Primeval Titan. They don't have anything like a Dryad, so Valakut's not that threatening.
Yeah, probably just going to get Tolaria West Bounce Land.
Yeah.
Set up another Titan in 2 turns.
So it will find another threat, but a slow one.
Klein here. Still can play a land. We'll see what he goes with. It's Marsh Flats.
Yeah, and that'll likely get another Surveil land. There's 1 copy of each of the Esper ones, Hedge Mage, Meticulous Archive, and a Shadowy Backstreet.
All right, Tobias here has the ability to Titan. Shields are down. We know there's no subtleties in the Goryo's main.
Oh, there's 4 of them, sorry. Hedge Maze is a Simic. Undercity Sewers as well. So 4 Surveil lands in this deck for Tyler Klein.
I mean, they're so strong with Goryo's Vengeance that it's just like one of your best turn 1 plays. You only have a couple Thoughtseize.
Yeah, and without any domain cards in the deck, you don't really need Rafine's Tower. So
right.
you'd just much rather fetch for a Surveil land on turn 1 if you don't have to interact at all.
Okay, here's Titan. And now Tobias, since he knows about the Solitude, my guess is it's Tolaria West Bounce Land, but we'll see if he has other plans in mind. Could go get multiple Urza Sagas and start churning those. Could get Valakut Saga, play Saga from hand, start threatening a bunch of Karnstructs.
So if you get Bounce Land plus Tolaria West, the 2 West goes back in hand. Now you have 8 mana still. You can play a land for turn. The Lush Portico go to 9. Next turn, the Saga gets you up to 10. You only need 9 to transmute Tolaria West and then cast a Titan after pacting for it. So we're setting up for a Titan next turn. So no real reprieve for Tyler Klein. Has to answer this first Titan now and is under the gun immediately on Tobias' next turn when he will present a second copy. That is indeed the play for David Tobias.
Maybe I'll write a Primeval Titan sideboard guide about how to go get your lands and then bounce them.
They've been getting Bounce Land Tolaria West for many, many years. It's actually
that's an old Matthias Hunt trick.
They used to play 3 of them. Now they play like 1 or 2.
Well, the deck already plays like 30-something lands. You know, it's hard to fit spells in the deck at this point.
There's a slightly different play. So Tobias deciding to go for the Urza Saga this turn really wants to potentially find an amulet as soon as possible. So goes for Saga over Portico. That will not affect his ability to Titan next turn. We'll still have access to 9 total mana.
Klein doesn't have to fire off the Solitude on the instep here. Can maybe save the Solitude in case he finds Goryo's for the Gristlebrand.
Could also potentially hardcast it if you find nothing, and then at least have an extra 3/2 lifelinker for your troubles.
Right.
And that is the Undercity Sewers, the Dimir land to round out the mana base there for Tyler Klein. And we'll see if he can spike another Goryo's Vengeance here.
Top card. It's a land. Goes to the graveyard. Surveil lands are so good, man. Okay, untap. Is that Faithful Mending or an Atraxa?
Yeah, it's an Atraxa.
We do have Faithful Mending in the graveyard.
True, true.
Could also pitch that to the Solitude.
The real problem is those poopy prismatic endings clogging Klein's hand.
I thought that card was pretty bad in that deck in general. I'm not sure why everyone's playing it.
A lot of things you gotta hit.
In game 1?
Yeah, gotta hit opposing Ragavan.
Gotta hit Scion of Draco.
Amulet Titan.
Gotta hit Leyline of the Guild Pack.
Hey, that Zoo deck plays plenty of 1s and 2s. Gotta deal with those Kavus.
What are you talking about? I'm talking about the Underworld Breach version of Leyline of the Guild Pack Sign of Draco. Or maybe I'm talking about the Esper Goryo's Leyline Draco that Jerry played.
Everyone plays Scion Leyline. We haven't seen too many. We've seen 1 in 4 rounds so far.
Yeah. Not so, omnipresent
Yeah.
as it seems.
Now, Modern is pretty diverse right now.
Here comes the flashback of Faithful Mending.
Hey,
Going to
go
draw
for
2,
it.
gain 2, and discard 2. Finds a Falagi.
Not a bad one to play here with a 5th mana. Yeah, get rid of at least one of these prismatic endings, maybe both.
Do you need to keep at least one card to pitch to the Solitude that's white?
Yeah, sends Meticulous Archive along with one of the prismatic endings away, but ooh. Maybe seeing a little downside here of all these Surveil lands, drew the other 2, and now doesn't have access to 2 mana for the Archaeologist.
Yeah, that's fair. But they're still so good.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want 4.
Yeah,
but-
maybe the Hedge Mage is a little overboard.
Well, you gotta cast your Atraxa sometimes, brother.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Solitude eats Titan. David Tobias up to 19. Life total is not that big of a deal, but we're gonna go ahead and burn an Ephemerate. This is a preemptive answer to another Titan. That's why we're setting this up.
Yeah, but it's all face up, so Tobias can just take this turn off, make a construct even after the Ephemerate, so the construct's not going to get exiled for free.
Yeah, but then Tyler gets to go Falagi, maybe find Goryo's Gristlebrand, kill you.
Yeah. Definitely buys him time. But that was a valuable Ephemerate. It came at a cost. We'll see how it plays out.
I agree.
Now, Tobias has the Teleria West in hand we know about, has the Lush Portico we know about. Looks like you drew a Summoner's Pact.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's an interesting one because, yeah, the issue is either way you go for it, you're pacting for the Titan. TUS has to find Pact first. And that means next turn, I don't know if you're going to be able to cast it again. Because we're at 9 mana, we can play a land, go up to 10. I guess 2 lands gets us to 12, and then we can go to 13. So even if you save the Teleria West, you can do it. Yeah, we should be able to Titan if we want to. But with the Ephemerate rebound looming, maybe you still just want to play it slow and not give away one of your threats for free.
I love the subtle hand motion that says, I got it. Tobias here, thinking about the plays. Ross going over the options.
If there was one deck I would not want to be advising my opponent on as a teammate, it's this one. They're the Amulet guy.
Yeah.
Let them be Amulet guy.
Yeah. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, I promise you, there's no line you're going to tell them that they don't already know.
Well, what if we go get Dried of Elysian Grove?
Yeah, we could, with the Pact draw, we might be able to do both. I don't think so, though, because we still only have access to the 9 mana.
Yeah.
So, even
Maybe
if
we just go get 2 Valakuts, though, and then we plan on try it next turn.
yeah, that could definitely be a play, but Klein's at 21, and you don't have a bounce land or anything like that.
All right. Getting time to make a play. Tobias here trying to figure it out, but you don't have infinity time.
What are we doing? Looks like we're going for the T West. I like using the T West. You have the mana. You're probably not using the mana on anything else this turn, so you might as well use it and have your plays be cheaper on later turns in case that's relevant.
There's no more Pact of Negation either, right?
No.
I feel like that one's a relic of the past.
Oh, yeah. There used to be a lot of cool things to Teleria West for. Walking Ballista.
All right.
Engineered Explosives.
We're going to bulk on the Talaria West, and we're just going to go get Summoner's Pact.
Okay. So saving the mana this turn, maybe really wants to make a construct, even though it's only a 1/1.
Mhm.
Still valuable. Yeah, only the one copy of Teleria West. This list. It's not a big part of the deck these days.
Here comes Titan. It's going to go get 2 more lands. We'll see if we're going to go get more Urza Sagas, more Talaria Wests. See an Otawara. We could go get Bounce Line Otawara. Ooh, and that can actually bounce Solitude in response to the Ephemerate, which forces a white card pitch from hand to deal with the Titan instead of a freebie deal with it. Maybe tap the lands wrong.
Yeah, could have left up blue mana there. Might be one of those instances where he had a line in his head, tapped it like he was going for that line, then saw the Ottawa, was like, this would have been better. But I can't undo.
All right, looks like we have Slayer Stronghold thumbing to the front.
So would need untapped red mana. There are Crumbling Vestiges, so that could net the red mana to activate.
What is entering tap? There's no Amulet of Vigors. It's a bit difficult here to get red and white in an untapped.
Yeah, because we need to have the Slayer Stronghold be untapped. So normally you would get bounce land, return it, play it as my land for turn, but yeah, that's not really an option. So looks like Tobias is instead going for a long game set of cards. Has pulled Valakut and Urza Saga to the front. Or is this Valakut Stronghold? To try to set up the Titan for next turn to have haste.
I think Tobias is just trying to figure that out himself, you know?
That would
Gotta make a decision. Oh, 2 sagas now. Alright, we're doing the dance. They're about to invoke my wrath.
Are we doing it?
Okay.
There we go.
Sagas.
No takesies, backsies, shuffle.
Chapter 1s. Chapters 1?
Either's fine.
And the Portico, we're going to surveil.
Both players triggering a surveil land like 5 times. It's just that Tobias's was the same surveil land over and over again.
All right. So, Solitude Blink. Titan Eden up to 25 life. Solitude now has Summoning Sickness. Ooh, found another Ephemerate. Let's go for a Philogy. And then if we whiff, well, we can maybe Ephemerate the Philogy. All right. Mill some. All creatures and lands. Get a counter on the Philogy, though.
Not what you wanted, but it's something.
That's the Augur of Bolas I remember.
Yes.
Passing the turn, Tyler does have that Solitude up, but we might have a pretty long, grindy game here.
And we'll see if David Tobias could go, with the Saga find Amulet and then play a Titan and be off to the races. Could just want to make a bunch of constructs here.
Appreciate the subscriptions. We also had 10 gifted earlier by somebody that you told me about that I had forgotten. What was their name? Oh, Ruckaduck. Probably shouldn't say that out loud. Thanks, Ruckaduck. Appreciate you.
Okay, does make another construct with Chapter 3 of the first Urza Saga.
Now we go get Amulet of Vigor more than likely, but perhaps another line is on the table. We'll see what David wants to go get.
We just make 2 more constructs this turn and have 4 5/5s.
I mean, that sounds pretty good.
Klein doesn't have the Gorios because still has 3 mana untapped. Will Gorios at this?
Ooh, interesting.
Goes
Don't
for
think it's
map.
Maybe gonna use map to go get Bojuka Bog. Is there Bojuka Bog main?
Nah. Bog is in the side, Brad.
All right, maybe gonna go get another Talaria West.
Only 1 copy.
Then what's it for? What's it gonna go get? Maybe the Valakut? Okay. Valakut. Figured it out. Another Urza Saga.
The 4th one.
Yep. Never seen a land do so much. 1 construct comes in. He's small. 2/2 or 3/3 right now, but can be a 4/4 or 5/5 at instant speed.
Okay, block with my 1/4. Does Tobias want to use some mana to make another construct here so that the Archaeologist will die in combat? Yep.
Yep. And now, since the shields are mostly down for a Titan, we're going to go for a Solitude on Ephemerate. I thought they were going to blink the Philogy just to get more looks. But we're going to eat the construct instead. Gain 3.
And now they can blink the Archaeologist on the rebound.
Yep. I was looking to just bounce it a bunch. I'm digging. I'm digging for that Gorios. We got Gristlebrand in the graveyard.
Yep. Gone through a lot of the deck, has Tyler Klein, so still 3 copies of Gorios left in there.
All right, dice should be removed. Oh, put it back. Okay, all right, okay, okay, all right.
3 lands.
Oh my, another
Oh,
tracks
wow.
drawn.
That
Just-
is a nightmare sequence of draws for Tyler Klein.
Okay, another contract being generated here, and now we're maybe gonna see the world's most explosive turn. Multiple sagas go into chapter 3. We can make a lot of constructs. Tyler Klein has nothing going on in hand.
Another construct. Another one. Now we have 5 6/6s.
Seems fine-ish.
About to be 8/8s. So only 3 of them can attack. That is still a lethal attack for 24.
Time for
This
jumpies.
Not including another potential Titan with 2 amulets. So with only 2 Atraxes in hand for Tyler Klein, I think this game is over.
Okay.
All over but the crying. Oh,
There's a big attack.
maybe no second Titan in hand. Thought there was a Summoner's Pact that was drawn, but it's okay. So not over this turn, but still a sizable advantage for David Tobias.
Big attack here. These constructs represent a ton of damage. At least one block has to be made. I'm kind of thinking actually chumping with Solitude over Philagi is better in case we draw Ephemerate number 3 or 4. That way we just have a way to dig out, maybe.
Maybe.
Solitude's body and lifelink seems mostly irrelevant at this stage. Alright, here we go. What was it? It wasn't Ephemerate! Oh no!
Tough stuff. Don't think that's going to be enough
It's
to
not.
survive.
It's definitely not.
Still 5 constructs here. Even if you blink, okay, yeah, we can attack first potentially. No, but there's can't do that.
Multiple blockers to just say block.
Yeah.
And then you have to blink before damage. And yeah, Tyler Klein, even after that explosive Goryo's Vengeance on 3 for Atraxa, couldn't close.
Just couldn't find the second copy of Gora's Vengeance.
Yeah. Dug really hard with it. Missed on multiple Philagis. I think some Ephemerate should have been targeting Philagis at least 2 other times.
Maybe.
All right, well, as these players are digging for their sideboard, we're going to move on to the standard match because it seems like they are the only one that's currently playing. So let's head on over to the far right table. That's going to be Austin Peters versus Chris Connors. And Austin Peters is going to be on Esper midrange, and Chris Connors is going to be on Dimir Flash. We're calling it Dimir midrange. I don't know what to call it. They're both just...
decks.
That's right. They're both midrange. Are they both Esper, actually?
No.
Why is there a Dinnick on the other side? How do you take it? Ah, Gix. Whenever Gix activations have been happening, you know things are going quite well for you. Connors here seems to be in the driver's seat. We'll get game count updated in a moment. We'll make sure life totals are updated as well. But a board full of stuff from Connors and a pretty weak side of the board for Austin Peters Roberts.
Standards in game 1.
Okay, we have confirmation this is actually game number 1.
Pioneer.
And our Pioneer match is already going to game 3, so
Okay.
one format playing quickly. This is a long game 1 if players are halfway through the clock.
All right, Gix, draw some cards. We are dealing some damage and gaining some life. Wow. What an insane game this must have been. Connors here has a dominating presence, but with only 1 life. It's up to Peters Roberts to see if he's able to find the point.
Just needs to be a little bit careful, and I don't think there's a way outside of combat for Austin Peters Roberts to deal this last point of damage.
All right, virtual vigilance here because of the virtue of loyalty. We're going to chump block this large token, and we're going to untap it.
Oh, there is. That's
All right, here is the Wandering Emperor. That's going to -2 on the Preacher of the Schism. We're going to gain 2 life to his Austin, up to 9, unless Connors has something to say about it. Could activate one of the Fairy Masterminds here at instant speed. That would draw him 2 cards, but it would draw Austin 1 card. We're trying to figure out if we can attack for lethal. Okay.
yeah. So don't need that preacher. Send it back.
Okay. Gonna go back Chris Connors' way. Let's see if we can find lethal. You have Go for a Throat, and that's it. Game number 1 goes to Chris Connors. A nail biter, but it looked like a fun one. Wish we had seen the whole thing.
Okay.
All right, as these players are shuffling up here for game number 2, we'll head on over to the Pioneer match. That one's probably going to finish before the other two. Robert Hayes versus Michael Yeager. That's going to be Rakdos Vampires from Robert Hayes versus Is It Phoenix from Michael Yeager. And this is basically decks 1 and 2 in the format. I would say that Phoenix is probably number 1 in terms of raw power numbers across the board matchups with
Vampire
Vampires.
deck has been catching up recently, and one of the haymakers it has in this matchup you see on the battlefield for Robert Hayes in the Leyline of the Void.
Yeah, they have a really good sideboard plan involving Young Pyromancer and Crackling Drake to get around it, and you even see that Young Pyromancer there and is dodging this duress, but it doesn't always do the job. The
Yeah,
Leyline is quite strong.
1 Young Pyromancer, 2 Crackling Drake in the sideboard here for Yeager.
Okay. I'm going to shock here with a Blood Crypt. Is it birds? Come on. Come on, Director.
I still shot me.
Attack for 3. Just a passing of the turn. I guess we're going to hold up Fatal Push for that Young Pyromancer. I would be surprised if Yeager even casts it. Normally, the sideboard plan that involves the Young Pyromancer often wants it to wait till turn 5 or 6 before you play it so that you can play at least 1, sometimes 2 or 3 spells before it dies. Here's a Lava Glide Pathway on red. Yeager's got an answer to this Blood Tithe Harvester and has Picklock Prankster, so we can do Free the Fae on the instep.
Yeah, but he's still just sort of treading water. Needs to find one of his ways to really pull ahead. Establish that Young Pyromancer. Also has the Saheeli in the sideboard. That would be excellent. As would Crackling Drake.
Life totals are incorrect, but we'll get that fixed in just a moment. Yeager should be at least 17 from the attack.
Ooh, there's a Thoughtseize for Robert Hayes. That's a nice pickup. And a Sorin.
Yeah. Sorin's pretty scary. Without Vein Ripper in hand, it's less scary, but I'm sure if it were cast and a counterspell were in hand for Yeager, he would snap off that Sorin with Negate, Spell Pierce, something like that. But here's Fable the Mirror Breaker instead. Let's see if Yeager has an answer. We're going to go for Free the Fae in response. We're going to look for a Spell Pierce, it seems like. A little bit risky because you might not be able to use your other mana.
Just a Lightning Axe there in the top 4.
Okay. So Fable resolves. Get a Goblin token and goes to Chapter 1.
Things looking pretty good for Robert Hayes to put his team up 1-0 in this best-of-3 team match.
All right, we're going to go back to Yeager's way in just a minute. Maybe we're thinking about what to do on instep. All right, Yeager's turn. Here is Young Pyromancer to start. Do we have another red source to play and kill this Goblin Shaman, or we're going to start with a Sleight of Hand?
I could dig towards that needed red source.
Might already have one rolled up. Unclear. Take a look at top 2. I think we found a Steam Vents.
That'll do, Pig. That'll do.
All right, shock's down to 12. Scary, but manageable. Now it's Axe and Fire Impulse at the ready. Likely going to kill this vampire so that it can't sacrifice itself to kill the young pyromancer for free.
Yeah, it seems better than dealing with the shaman.
All right. Another token here for the PZ. We're going to go back Hayes' way. We got Chapter 2 of Fable coming. We have Fatal Push in hand for this young pyromancer. Let's see how he wants to navigate this turn. Potentially great turn here. Especially if he can find a Vein Ripper off the top with this Fable discard. But what do you discard?
Yeah, but without anything for the Sorin, maybe the Sorin is what you discard. Between the Mutal off the top and the Goblin Shaman making treasures, you could just get to 6 mana.
Well, that means the Mutavault probably needs to go. If you already have 4 mana rolled up, right?
Okay.
Thoughtseize is a discard. Ooh, interesting.
Sends away Mutavault and Thoughtseize.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. We're going to start with Blood. We're digging.
Yeah, it looks like the 2 we found were Swamp of Blood Crypt, so not great.
Right. Definitely a downgrade, but we gave ourselves a chance to find it.
Blood finds another Blood Tithe Harvester. How on theme.
Here comes a treasure. The Goblin Shaman coming in for 2. Jaeger likely going to take this down to 10. And now we have Harvester plus Fatal Push as the sequence likely coming.
Yeah, I definitely want to get that Pyromancer off the battlefield.
Yeah, but we have these 2 tokens sitting around that can trade for the Harvester or the Goblin Shaman should they attack next turn. Gonna go back Jaeger's way. Let's see if we can figure out something cool to do. But Leyline of the Void is shutting down a lot of his primary game plan.
Yeah, cutting out a lot of his better draws.
Gonna start with sleight of hand, looking at the top 2. So another Peasy. You're a big young Pyromancer fan, right?
Good card. Makes handsome tokens.
Yeah? What kind of tokens is that?
1/1 red elementals.
With whose face on them?
Any face you want.
I'm,
Apparently,
I'm trying to get you to tell the people that you have a Pyromancer token. Fine.
Jaeger in the tank here. The other Pyromancer seems very juicy to me, so the second card must be quite good.
Maybe it's a Drake.
Right. It can't be another Pyromancer. There's only one on this list.
What was the red card? I thought it was a young Pyromancer.
Trying
My
to trick
fault.
me.
I didn't mean to trick you. Red card did go to the bottom, I believe, so. Maybe it was a Phoenix.
Maybe. It's a pretty good bet. Phoenix not so good when it's in Snare Thopter mode.
Yeah. Leyline of the Void takes a lot of the wind out of them sails.
Okay.
Consider.
Another cantrip.
Dig, dig, dig.
Dug, dug, dug.
Wonder, is that game older than me?
Probably.
Dig Dug? When did Dig Dug come out? I'm 86.
That's pretty old.
I just turned to dust.
And bins the land off the Consider.
I see Axe.
Yeah,
It's
we
not
had,
really
had the
doing
X
much.
off the Free the Fae.
Yeah, I just don't see anything that relevant.
Yeah. The Leyline of the Void costs a card, but it's generally worth more than a card in what it shuts down against Phoenix, and it allows the Vampire deck to play its natural mid-range game plan and not get trumped by the overwhelming card advantage of Izzet Phoenix.
Right.
Especially when you just grip it in a 7-card hand. Is that a Castle Lochthwain?
I believe it's a Sulphur Springs from Ice Age, the one with the little devil in the hot tub.
It is. You're right. So that gets sent away to a blood token. Looks like we found another land for our troubles, but
Do you know on one of the newer Sulphur Springs, it's the same card, but
Yeah.
it's just the skeleton of the guy?
spent a little bit too long in that hot tub.
Yeah, we all get that way sometimes, especially on long weekends like this one. There's a Sorin, but no vampire. Response, we're going to go digging with a Free the Fae, looking for Spell Pierce to stop it.
Yeah. Might as well, in case Spell Pierce is your only option or your best option.
Finds an Opt and an Axe. Tries to take the Axe.
Okay. Well, we're one land away from just hard casting them and turning it into an expensive 1-for-1.
Mhm.
Maybe that's what Jaeger wants to do.
All right, Soren here. Gonna tick up, put a counter on Bloodtithe Harvester, I would imagine, but maybe we're opting for sacrifice? There's no shot, right?
I would be surprised, but
Maybe it was a verbal +1 on the Bloodtithe. This is like a spot where if you have Fire Impulse, you have to play it now because it doesn't have Delirium thanks to the ley line. All right, we're going to trade 2 goblins for the Goblin Shaman, or 2 young Pyromancer tokens for the Goblin Shaman.
and
Oh, so he gave it Death Touch and Lifelink and then attacked with it. Cool. Saving the Harvester for another potential young Pyromancer or something similar.
oh, interesting. Jaeger going for the end step Lightning Axe there, discarding land 6. So deciding speed is more important than value in that particular instance.
Maybe all the red mana is going to get tied up this turn on a Crackling Drake, or was hoping to draw a Crackling Drake to really turn the corner.
Yeah, for as much as Robert Hayes has done in this game, he's out of gas at this point.
Right.
So a big threat from Jaeger could steal it.
We do have 2 blood tokens and the Bloodtithe Harvester in play, which means that Crackling Drake is currently checked, but I believe Michael has another axe to deal with it, but it would require a lot of resources to hardcast, or to not hardcast, excuse me. We're going to play a pair of Picklock Pranksters. Say that 5 times. Pair of Picklock Pranksters.
Little awkward in the face of the Sorin, because normally you could double block the Bloodtithe Harvester and only lose 1 Prankster, but as soon as 1 counter gets on that Harvester and it gets Death Touch, that block is no longer viable.
If the last card from Jaeger is a dud, an extra land or something, pitching it to the axe to kill the Bloodtithe Harvester makes a lot of sense.
And we can start picking away at the Sorin with the Pranksters and hope Hayes bricks for a couple turns.
+1, Death Touch Lifelink. Sending in for 4. Jaeger tanking. Notably played a Pathway last turn. Didn't have that to discard here. Pushing towards Hall of the Storm Giants mana. Valuing that last card in hand quite highly to not kill this Bloodtithe now.
Yeah.
Alright, here's Nopt.
Do we like it?
It might be a land for the Hall of the Storm Giants that's untapped, and maybe that was the tank.
That would be nice to answer the Sorin immediately. And we find a good card we want to cast, or a horrible one we want a Lightning Axe. Apparently somewhere in between.
Draws for turn. I saw a blue and red card. That might be a Crackling Drake over there.
Could be. Could be Galvanic Iteration.
Stormcarved Coast. Swing for 2. Both at Sorin. Passing the turn.
So now Jaeger can hardcast the Lightning Axe. On
We
this
also
Bloodtithe
have a
Harvester.
defensive Hall of the Storm Giants, I believe. We have 7 mana, 2 halls.
The Sorin's going to give the Harvester Death Touch, so I'm not a big fan of that trade.
Yeah, I am. Hold the axe for a future Vein Ripper. You're such a low life total and it costs so much to activate that when they just kind of let you block for... It's not free, but you get to block in a turn where it lets you use all your mana. Okay, swing for 5. And we are going to go for an axe and hardcast it just like you said.
I am smart. So is Michael Jaeger. And looks like just bricks for Robert Hayes. Interestingly, decides to...
Those are treasures.
Those are treasures. Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, out of blood tokens, it seems, already burned them.
Yeah. So now with the haul, Jaeger could turn this game around in a hurry. Deal with the Sorin this turn, and then start chunking in for Hayes' life total.
Land for turn. Going to give him the ability to activate Hall and hold up a mana. Okay. This is going to go Summit Sorin, Summit Face.
It does cut your clock down by a turn to answer the Sorin. I think it's worth it.
Too many Dust Legion Zealots off the top start to look scary.
Yeah, exactly.
Back Robert Hayes' way. Finds a Vein Ripper. And now you wish your Hall of Storm Giants was a Lightning Axe, huh? Now you wish your Hall of Storm Giants was a Lightning Axe.
Oops.
Still got it. All right, going back Michael Yeager's way, every chump block is a lot of damage.
Yeah, and you need to keep one of the pranksters around to sacrifice when you initially kill the Ripper, but you got to stay above 4. So the answer kind of needs to come here.
Yeah. What you got, Yeager? Looks like a big old frown.
And even if Jaeger had saved the Lightning Axe, then the other threat would be holding back his haul, and he'd be at 2 and have no pressure, so Hayes would be able to draw out of it. The Vein Ripper was just, I don't think, a beatable draw in this game.
Actually, Ross, my apologies. Chat's probably going crazy right now. Ley Line of the Void actually prevents the drain effects from the Vein Ripper, so we might have a little more time than we thought.
True. A little anti-synergy there. So yeah, we do get at least a chump block for free.
All right, we got a couple of chump blocks thanks to old Arclight Phoenix. Here's a Preacher of the Schism.
And now some gas is coming for Hayes.
Now the question is, do you send with the Vein Ripper at all? A triple block here trades, and you kill 2 things and no drains. Bounce. Okay, would you like to sacrifice? You still got to pay the ward.
Yeah, so I'll sacrifice, but the Vein Ripper won't trigger.
Yeah. If Robert Hayes' last card in hands of land, he can go land, sack 2 treasures, play the Vein Ripper again, but it looks like his other card is a second Ley Line of the Void.
The actual worst possible.
Yeah. So,
now, what does Jaeger want to do with this little reprieve?
Hardcast Treasure Cruise for 8.
Well, do we want to get in with the Haul?
Ooh, maybe.
Could potentially just get in with Haul Prankster, leave back the Phoenix so it can team up with Prankster to block Preacher.
Yeah, Preacher with Death Touch, though, just trades for the Haul, so it's
Yeah.
probably not great.
Yeah, so we just can't even really attack that well.
Yeah. Preacher's such a good defensive body. It's like hard to block, too. It's just a really strong card in general.
Maybe we wanted to bounce the Preacher on end step to set up a Haul attack.
I think life total is too high to start going that direction, but
Yeah, if we had gotten 1 Haul attack in earlier before the Vein Ripper came down, that might have been viable.
Four mana. Here's a Crackling Drake. That's a big boy.
That's pretty good.
That's a big boy. That trades with Vein Ripper.
He's getting aggressive too. How big is this Crackling Drake? We need our spotter to give us a count.
Yeah. Let's just say big. Very big. We're going to get a count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 4.
Honestly,
I thought it would be
I'm
bigger.
disappointed, yeah.
I thought it would be way bigger. Here's a Ripper. Old Kelly Ripper again. Not nearly as scary with the ley line on the battlefield, if I'm being honest. Now with Crackling Drake, you're almost forced to block.
Yeah. Crackling Drake.
Yeah.
The secret answer to Vein Ripper.
No, the obvious answer to Leyline of the Void. And another dud for Robert. A really weak follow-up to his great early start. And this Vein Ripper might not be enough to get the job done thanks to his own Leyline of the Void shutting off the ability. It's interesting because Leyline's obviously great against Phoenix, Treasure Cruise, those types of things. But with Phoenix being prepared to beat that with Young Pyromancer and Crackling Drake, maybe it's better to just move back to Go Blanks and going heavy on Go Blanks to fight Phoenix. Thoughts?
Could be. Leyline It's really nice.
It's free. It sure is free. And you sure have a lot of ways to discard it when it's not in your opener.
Yeah.
Preacher gonna attack and draw a card. Finds another Vein Ripper. Now the question for Jaeger is, do I block? The answer is no. Going down to 4. Okay. Is this just a lethal attack? 7, 10, 11? No, this is a forced chump block. Or no, I guess a forced trade of Vein Ripper on Crackling Drake if you send in
Yeah.
the Hall. So send in the Hall, they take 11 down to 6, and then it's 4 to 6 with the threat of 2 damage being lethal, but Leyline shutting off a lot of your potential 2 damage outlets. So I like to fire up the Hall, swing here, get aggressive.
Yeah. And we still have the Picklock Prankster back as a blocker
Right,
if we
because
need
the
it.
vigilance. Good call.
Oh, we can get in with the Flyers.
Well, Jaeger didn't see it. We're going to go trading with the Crackling Drake, and we're going to take 7 down to 10 instead. Wants to trade with the Preacher.
But the Vein Ripper dying will trigger it. So now Jaeger's going to go to 2. Hayes will end up at 12. When all is said and done.
Okay.
And now another Vein Ripper would basically do it.
Well, another Vein Ripper basically just says that my Preacher can't die, which means you have to just chump block.
Yeah. But
With
it also means the Hall can't attack because you just chump with the Vein Ripper and you die.
well, it's a triggered effect, so if it's blocking to chump or trade, then it's not lethal until all the damage is done. But without Crackling Drake on the table, you're
Yeah.
right. It's much less threatening.
And there it is.
Yeah.
Second Vein Ripper is going to take it. This was a really up and down final game. Looked like Hayes was ahead early, then Jaeger was firmly in the driver's seat. Then the first Vein Ripper, and Crackling Drake answered that, but the second Vein Ripper going to do it.
All right. Second Vein Ripper. Let's see if Hayes sends in the Preacher. We're going to attack. We get to draw a card because we have more life. Go to 11.
Yeah.
Now,
Forced block.
yeah. Fairy goes to exile. And a Sorin! A Sorin off the top! And it's a Spellfierce!
This is, I think, just delaying the inevitable. Because there's only the one Ottawara. There's really just no way to remove this Vein Ripper from the battlefield without triggering it.
I think you're right. I think Robert Hayes is going to win this match.
There's a Petty Theft Brazen Borrower on the sideboard. If we can find that, even then you'd have to sack the Arclight Phoenix, then try to get in with Hall, that's not lethal, and guard against the crackback from the Preacher.
Yeah, overwhelming.
Yeah, too many problems here for Michael Jaeger. Too many leaks to try to plug.
All right, and we have entered into the final turns of the round as well. This will be turn 0, and now we'll go to turn 1 for Robert Hayes. And if their teammates are still playing, then they have also entered into time. All right, just be aware to make sure all the matches know it's time. All right, here's an attack. What you got? Puts his hand on the table. Sends the hand. Robert Hayes takes it down 2-1. His team is up a match. We're going to get our spotter to let us know how the other matches are doing. We're going to swap over in just a minute.
Yeah, we haven't heard any results from the backup table, so I think we have 2 other matches still going into time.
They might also both still be in game number 2. They both had roughly 30-minute game ones.
Yeah, a lot of long games here in round 4. But if you're Robert Hayes, your team is one individual match win away from potentially drawing into the top 8 at 4-0.
All right. Any of the matches still playing?
The one on the end is they're in turn 0, and it's currently tied 1-1 overall. It's a team.
Okay. So here's the story. We're going to Standard. Standard is Esper midrange versus Demir midrange. They have entered into extra turns, which means they'll have 5 total turns to complete the match. It is 1-1 in overall matches finished with...
So David Tobias defeating Tyler Klein in the modern match, Titan over Gorios.
Right.
Austin is now turn 1.
Okay.
Chris was turn 0. Austin's turn 1.
So we've entered, now we're in turn number 1. Austin Peters has turns 1, 3, and 5 to potentially finish the job. We're going to get life totals here updated for you in just a moment. But here is another wedding announcement. It looks like we are wedding announcement flooded over here on Austin
Yeah.
Peter Roberts' side.
A little slow for this situation. You don't have the full time to, ramp up the counters and take full advantage of this powerful 3-drop.
Connor's here with a grip full. We might end up with an old-fashioned draw. 1-1-1.
1.
I said three. I said 3 ones.
1.
Is there more? More ones? All right. I have a weird question for you, Ross. Have you ever seen a standard format where the Mesmeric Fiend style card survived as long as Deep Cavern Bat does?
Hey.
Deep Cavern Bat just feels so good. It just never dies. Here's a Fairy Mastermind. Inside, we're going to make some tokens with the wedding announcement. One's already transformed. The other 2 are ticking up. Life totals are 4 on Chris Connor's side, so pretty low. 14 for Austin Peters Roberts. Connors will have turns 2 and 4 to try to finish things out, so basically 2 attack steps. Gix, can I get confirmation on Gix being a May ability?
It is.
Okay.
Okay, Otawara and Cut Down take care of 2 of the tokens on Austin Peters Roberts' side. And yeah, if this is turn 2, we've got 6 damage on the battlefield. Connors is going to have to find a little bit more than that to try to finish this off on his following turn.
Oh my, triple make disappear and another bat. We can maybe activate the Gix to try to really steal the game that way because our hand is pretty poopy.
Well, you're 1 mana short of activating. Oh, we have 7 exactly. So yeah, that is possible.
Oh, we also have the. It's not Risen Reef, but it's the land that turns into a creature.
Yeah.
Restless Reef. Is that it?
Yes. So
Nice.
Restless Reef can be a 4/4. That'll be a nice one.
It's hard for that one to punch through multiple times because of all the wedding announcement tokens.
Yeah.
Would have loved to have seen an activation of Gix just to try to hit something cool.
Mills 4 cards. Token here can chump, and then Austin Peters Roberts will fall to 8. Or just decides to take it. I like that because that means Connors can't aggressively draw some cards here.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find some way to close the door. Has to decline the Gix.
There's a bat. No cards in hand, though. Just a 1/1 flying lifelink. Okay. Going back Ostrin's way. Yeah, top card is a land, so not going to be able to win the game, but can he not die is the question. Both players at 5 life. We're going to make 2 more blockers here on the end step. I can't tell if there's a creature land hiding over there in Austin Peters Roberts' side. I assume not because no mana was spent in the last 2 turns.
And Connors has 4 damage in the air with Roberts at 5.
All right, looks like they are going to draw or we'll get confirmation on how that ended. I don't think. I mean, it was only on turn 3 of turns, so maybe Connors is the winner.
And were we missing lethal there?
Perhaps. Maybe life totals were slightly off, or I don't know.
Well,
Go check with our spotter just a moment. It's fine. We'll just get confirmation in just a moment. All right.
There was 4 power in the air with the 2 bats and the Mastermind, and then there was the Gix and the Restless Reef on the ground. But Roberts, even after attacking, should have 2 1/1s coming from the other 2 wedding announcements.
Right. I think that's true, but he might have just given up.
I think Chris won.
You think? Can you ask them?
He said Chris won. This side won towards us. I was thinking,
Yeah.
Chris won.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So there is the confirmation. Chris Connors with Demir defeats Esper Midrange from Austin Peters Roberts, and the team of Connors, Jaeger, and Tobias are victorious. Really
Okay.
tough match, honestly. Just long games.
Yeah. Long, intricate games, and really very swingy games
Yeah.
where we thought both players were in highly advantaged positions across multiple games and multiple formats.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Vampire deck beating Phoenix, I think, is. I mean, it happens. I think Phoenix is favored, but not by a lot.
I mean, there's 4 ley lines on the sideboard of that Vampires list. I think once you go that hateful, you might swing the swing the scales in your favor a little bit.